Hey there, welcome to another night. It's Thursday night, and what a day. The title of this conversation, it's kind of something that I'm discovering from this a, s- a side effect. So there's a plane overhead. A side effect of this COVID quarantine is that well, in my job, I have a lot of meetings from the start of the morning all the way through to the end of the day. Uh, Sometimes as many as 7 to 10 meetings a day, sometimes simultaneously, two meetings at once. I think I mentioned that last night. But usually my meetings have teams. So usually I'm leading the meeting as the project manager. So I'll have, 3, 5, 10 people in the virtual meeting room at once. But every so often I have meetings one-on-one. So probably about a third of my meetings throughout the day are one-on-one. And don't worry if you're one of those persons that has meetings with me, I'm not going to say anything about anything that we talk about, except to point out that when you get a person like me that's kind of stuck in his bedroom from day and night, except when I escape away to walk my dogs or slip aside to do this, and you get somebody else somewhere else who's likewise stuck, um, you taking humans are humans, right? And you have to take advantage of the opportunity to take care of your business. You open the meeting with a little bit of small talk banter, and then you conduct your business, and then you close off the meeting with a little small talk banter and salutations, and you're on your way. um, but more and more, I'm noticing that there's some heavy conversations that come about. Hello, evolving blessing, saying hi to me. Hello. And Monari, sorry. Hi, did you have a good day? Yes, I did. I'm talking a little bit about that day, in fact. And how does the audio sound? I moved the microphone down a little bit. I noticed, I reviewed last night's video, and I noticed it was kind of overwhelming. Let me know if that's any better. Um, so, heavy conversations. I think that we're in a, well, of course, human beings like to have hearty heart to hearts, right? So that's always important. But more so now than ever before, we look for that opportunity to share a little bit. And again, I won't divulge any details, but it's very meaningful to me to hear from others and to hear what's going on in their lives and what they're experiencing through this quarantine and in their various stages of their life. And likewise, I share as well. It's a very good thing. But more and more as the months go on, I'm seeing this happening, and not just in virtual meetings, but also in chat rooms and the like. Omanari says it sounds pretty good. I'm glad to hear that. Good. So otherwise, the day was a very hearty one. It really took a lot out of me. I was well spent by the end of the day. Sometimes it's astonishing how much a day can really just wring you like a sponge. How about you, Monari, and Evolved Blessing? How were your days respectively? I hope they were good. Just one more day until we head into the weekend, and I've got an interesting Saturday planned. I'm looking forward to my chat with Mully on Saturday morning. That's going to be interesting. In other topic, oh, I forgot I could do this thing. I was supposed to do the banners, right? If I have a topic, I was going to say the topic was not that, but that heavy conversation. So I just talked about that. So I'm learning more and more how to do this. The next conversation that I don't have a banner for was something that I was thinking about while I was walking my dog. I was walking over the freeway, and I think it's the 33, and I was looking out at a patch of open space where the freeway kind of swooped around the on ramp and entered the freeway, and it brought me back to a memory of being my teenage years, in last years of high school, and how I used those summers to hitchhike around America, and how so often I would find myself at nightfall stuck at an on-ramp to a highway or a freeway with my thumb sticking out and no eager takers, and fatigue and just the end of the day. And usually when I was hitchhiking, I would try to find a safe place to sneak away and sequester myself away from the world. But so often when I was in an urban setting, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Boise, Denver, Phoenix, places like that, Las Vegas, if I was in the urban setting, I would just have to kind of sneak away to some dark corner of the urban infrastructure and hide myself away. Very few times I would actually erect my tent. If I could find a nice, if you've never done this type of thing before, you probably don't have an eye for it. But I still, to this day, when I'm like out for a walk with the dogs and I pass by a building, like there's a building right over there that I've noticed is a good spot, and there's a bit of green infrastructure between the building and the road, and I think to myself, oh, I could easily, secret myself in there and find myself a place to sleep for the night. Sometimes, and there's one right over here that I thought if I ever needed to, I could actually erect my tent. Not that I hopefully will ever need to. But that memory brought me back to doing that. And I think now how silly, how absurd that was to have been 16 and a half or 17 years old and to be skulking away from the freeway on-ramp down into past the ivy and all the bushes to find a place to spend the night, most often without erecting the tent, just laying out my sleeping bag and bring myself in. Oh, here comes the security guard. I hope they don't run me out. I'm actually I'm using the lobby of the brand new Silence building, or not Silence, Blackberry building, to do this, which is kind of suspicious for me sitting here. So we'll see. And so that was kind of the way that would go down. And then to have the opportunity to, well, okay, there goes the security guard. I think I'm okay. He walked right up to me. Right, I should have turned the camera around. Can I do that with this? I don't know. Can I turn the camera around with this? I don't know. Hold on, let me see. I don't think I can. Well, that's one disadvantage of Steamer Yard versus doing it via the normal YouTube. The security guard came right out of the building, right at me, because he's got his little earphone in, his black mask, came walking right at me, and just at the last second veered off and went off. I think he thinks I'm having a meeting. So what kind of influence would that have on a teenage mind, to sleep through the night in the roundabout where the freeway spins around and cars get on the freeway one after another, and to periodically wake up through the night, a little bit anxious, and peek your head up through the ivy, look around to see if anybody's around. And I'll tell you, one time I did look up and around, and indeed there was a hulking shape of a human being skulking past about maybe 40 feet away. I could see them, the silhouette. So someone else was in the infrastructure with me. Some other human being was skulking around in there with me. Good thing I didn't erect my tent. And the few times that I did erect my tent, I remember having to wake up well before dawn to dismantle it. I was afraid that the highway patrol would come along and see that. That was all good and nice and fine adventure for a teenage boy. But I wonder what it would be like if I kept that up. It probably wouldn't be me, of course. I'd be mad, probably. Or maybe not so much mad, at least appear mad to all of you or to anybody else, right? Because I'd be one of those, you know what they look like? You see them, I see them sometimes. There's the desperate, on the fringe people who somehow didn't manage to stay in their slot in the slot car race of life, and their vehicle went off and scurried about somewhere else. And that is kind of the danger of doing this, of going alone. And that's why I lead in all of the videos that I made in the Going Alone series. And in fact, I open here, the book opens with this passage. Warning, do not go alone to the wild unless you are willing to accept the very real risk of suffering and dying alone. Take some precaution to let others know where you will be and when you will depart and return. Bring something to save your life, such as a first aid kit and a satellite GPS phone or emergency beacon. Again, don't go alone unless you are willing to accept the very real risk of suffering and dying alone, and are willing to accept the responsibility for bringing pain to those who love and care about you. So I think I wrote those words partially out of memory of the peripheral encounter with um, irrelevance that my late teen adventures brought. Lucky that I came back from the edge, even desperate and lost and lonely life if I had not, I imagine. But anyway, I'm sorry. Let me see if there's any comments, and then I will probably wrap up. It's late. Monari said, Evolving Blessing says, the volume is low for me. I don't know. It's my end. I have it on the highest volume. Let me move this a little bit higher. Let's see if this is any better. You guys are helping me to find the sweet spot. How's that? How's that, Evolving Blessing? Monari, I didn't get to catch you yesterday, but I wanted to respond. I feel like I'm doing better now. I'm pretty introverted unless interaction is actually makes me pretty happy. So Monari, are you referring to, we were kind of talking yesterday about the impact of the COVID situation, of our seclusion, and the physical impact, the psychological impact, and the like. So you're saying you're doing pretty better, you're introverted and less interaction is actually. Do you worry though that being an introvert, as I am as well, if not having that forced, for lack of a better term, involvement with others might drive you deeper into that? I speak from one. I speak from one who's vulnerable to that. AB Ducky says, "Hey Kurt, hey there, AB Ducky. AB Ducky, were you always interested in writing a book, or was it an idea that came later in life?" I was never interested in writing a book. I like to read, but I had no plan to write a book. What happened was when I was in Japan, there was this thing, and I won't repeat myself, but because you've probably, some of you have seen me talk about this before, I would get letters from young people, typically young 20-somethings, asking about adventure, and I would find myself writing the same response every time. Right? I'd an email would come and I'd type up a response and then I get next week another email just like that from somebody else, and I type up the response chunk. And after I realized, I'm writing this up all the time, I might as well write something down that is my blanket answer to this, and then refer people to it and make it a blog post. That's what became the Path of Wildness. So the Path of Wildness was the seed piece of Going Alone, and it started out as a blog post, which really started out as a series of letters that I kept, the same dang letter that I kept writing over and over again to people that were writing, young people that were writing to me who were afraid to have an adventure in life and asked me what the trick was. I just let that go. Then when I came to America, I went out started going out, I was alone. I started going out into the desert, deep desert, alone, hiking. And I began to recognize this emptiness out there that I call the great indifference. And I started writing about it through blog posts and actually Facebook social media posts as well. And actually that grew to such a volume that I realized, oh my gosh, there's something here. And I began to recognize there were themes to it. I would hashtag it with things. There was the hashtag of my muse is a corpse, stoic poetry, the path of wildness, going alone, and things like that. And then over time, I started realizing that all of these posts had kind of congealed themselves like the pachinko balls falling down into certain bins of content. And then I realized that if I took those things together and put them together, that I had something that began to resemble a book. And then it was realizing that the thing I had written in Japan, The Path of Wildness, could be the foundation of that book. All I had to do then was write an introduction, and then some prose. The book is a lot of kind of like poetry type of stuff in the book. These sections here, like this. Anything that's in italics with the tildes between them. This is all the stuff that was written on the fly. This is the need of the book. What I did was for every chapter then, I added a prose section that began it, and then I finished off with the poetry piece. I call it, notes from my muse. And then suddenly I had a book, by gosh, and by gosh, the book told a story. And I didn't have any intention at all of doing that. It just happened. So I hope that answers your question, Evolving Blessing. And I know that you've got similar ambitions. Do you think if it's is the same? So the volume is the same. Interesting. Okay. Huh. Thanks for the feedback. Do you think if I cast to a TV, the volume can improve perhaps? Or maybe if I just talk up, how if I do this? How about if I hold this in front of my mouth? Is that better? Let me know. I'll try that. Mika Hepler. Boy, you're a name from the ages. I remember you from back in the day. I can't see any other comments, but hopefully you can see this. Hi, Kurt. Mickey, that's because you're on Facebook. So I'm multicasting to, is that the word? To Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And maybe by next week I'll be simulcasting to Periscope at the same time. So you're not seeing the comments from, oh, but you know what I need to do? If I click on this, I keep forgetting to do that. Then I can show the comments, right? So that's what I need to do. So you're hearing me respond to comments from people on other platforms. Good to see you, Mika Helper. I never knew how to pronounce your name in the back in the day, and I still don't. But you've been with me for a long time. Thank you for sticking with me so long. Tea Leaves says hello from Twitch. Yay! It's so neat to see new handles from a platform that I'm new to. How neat. Monari, I do enjoy other people, but I recharge mentally by being alone. I say that, but also as I talk to people online recently, I get energy from them. It feels different from interacting in person, though. Interesting. You're one of the tribe. What about adventure, Monari? Are you the type of person that gets out this alone thing? Do you prefer to just be alone in your domicile, or do you like to get out alone into wild places or elsewhere? Grand Sumo International, what a name. Oh, and I can see now that you're from YouTube. I'm seeing now. Do you see how on the screen there's Grand Sumo's avatar, and then there's a little YouTube icon there? So that means that Grand Sumo is coming from YouTube. I didn't realize that before. Hi, Kurt. Was just complaining to myself that I never catch the live stream, but here we are. I'm halfway through going alone. No kidding. Really? Which chapter are you in? Hopefully the book hasn't brought you down. The book has a happy ending, believe it or not. It's not all atheism and nihilism and the world and the universe doesn't give a damn and what the hell, right? You'll get to the chapter called The Good Life, where you try to rouse myself from that empty vision. A.B. Ducky says, interesting, thanks for the thoughtful answer. You're very welcome. Evolving Blessing says, yes, much better. Okay, so maybe I need to learn how to just hold this when I'm doing this. That might be the thing. Good. Well, this has been fun. But I think I'm going to probably drop off for now and head on back. Yumiko was sick today. Don't worry, I don't think she has COVID. It's very rare for my wife to take a day off, but she actually started the day off. She's tried to work from home, so I've been keeping. Eventually, she came to me and she said, Papa, how do I? She uses Outlook. She says, how do I set up a vacation? Not an auto response, not a vacation message. That just shows how she never takes any time off. So I helped her set up that, and then she basically slept throughout the day. She's doing much better tonight. I went out and got us some good seafood for dinner. Emily's off with her boyfriend Chris. They're at some BMW car event, looking at BMW motor cars. They're 18 and almost 20 years old. What are they looking at BMWs for? I guess they're getting suckered into that life. Not suckered. I didn't mean that quite way. What is it to be young, but to be interested in the so-called finer things in life, right? So, I mean, I think it takes a while to kind of, maybe it doesn't, for some people it never happens, to realize that nothing is enough. Let's see. I just watched Grand Sumo International says, I just watched switched to YouTube. This is Mika on my sumo channel. I'm so happy you remember my name. Yeah, I do. It's pronounced Micah, by the way. Micah, okay. I'm going through the notes from your muse. Very interesting. It helps if you apply a little alcohol, perhaps. Thank you. So in each chapter, the notes from the muse are a little bit different, but that's the meat and substance of the thing. Thank you for taking the time to read my book, Grand Sumo, or Mika. David Nakamura, another name from that I know. I'm curious what kind of things you were into when you were younger, like high school and college. I was into thinking, not profound, deep thoughts. Like I was into staring out the damn window of the school bus into the horizon and just letting my mind wander. I was unfortunate in not having really too many adults that really seemed to give a damn and to engage me and show me the way. As a result, I just kind of like stared out windows and let my thoughts go where they will. I wasn't really into much of anything else. Wasn't into girls or boys for that matter. If you're referring to last night's comments, I wasn't into hobbies. I wasn't into television or music or socializing or anything. I was into just letting my thoughts kind of slide away from my mind into the horizon and trying to see where they would go. And it wasn't until not 56 years later, until now, that finally my consciousness has kind of caught up with that. Evolving Blessing says, I hope she feels much better. Thank you. I will let Yumiko know that when I get back. When I thinks good, that's good. Have a great night. You too. And Evolving Blessing, is it profitable being an author? No, not at all. Not for me, at least. That's because I just give my book away for free. So, I make a little bit of profit if people buy it on Amazon, but I like to give it away for free. So when I do that, I order it from Amazon myself. It comes, and then I just put it in a box or a bag, and I ship it off. Right. So no, I don't make any money on this, but it makes me feel good if there is, and I know that they're out there because I've been doing this long enough to know that there are people out there who see the world the way I do. And there are people out there in their late teens, early 20s who are struggling with this seemingly mad vision of the universe that they seem to be alone with. And if there's any chance that my book might let some of them know that they're not completely alone in this apprehension of what the universe seems to not be, then it's all worth it. I don't care how many of these books I ship or how broke. I know I'm gonna die broke anyway, so I don't give a damn. So I'm not looking to make any money. Monari, I mainly like to be alone in my room, but I do enjoy walking in the woods sometimes. I really like processing my own thoughts alone in the dark. Monari, you and I are two of a kind, indeed. If you don't have a copy of my book, you can please request one, and I will show you how. There you go. There's an email address going across the bottom of the screen, dinnerbytheriver@gmail.com. Just send me an email. I'll be happy to send you a free copy. Although it's going to take a while. The list has grown, and I'm very behind on my sending. David says, I remember seeing your story about being in the van on the beach. Was that something you'd always thought you wanted to do, or did it just kind of happen? It just totally kind of happened. I had no intention. My intention was to go to college and live in a van. This is long before the van life thing was popular. It just happened to be that fate unfolded that way. And then just, I met, Sam Merriman down on the beach. And I've told that story before. I won't bore you guys with that story again. And serendipity stepped in, and there you go. I became the caretaker of Moonstone Beach, probably the closest inhabitant to the ocean in all of California. Literally at high tide, the water would come under the wheels of my van. So those were some amazing years, and I didn't intend that life to happen. And that was very formative, and that also helped push me into this world of going alone, which only my wife rescued me from. And I'll have to forever to pay her back for that. Darren Johnson, hey, I know your name. Hi, Kurt. Glad I made it to this stream. I'm glad you made it too. I might just be signing off though. It's been great. This is a lot of fun. I'm kind of making this into a little bit of a habit, starting to spend time with all of you like this. I will be again meeting with Molly of Warmouth Strat fame, formerly of the Bench fame, soon to be, I shouldn't say formerly, soon to be of the Bench again. He and I are going to have our get together on uh, Saturday at 6 a.m. California time, 9 p.m. Japan time. Also, I'm going to be interviewed by one of you who reached out to me asking to do so on, I think it's Friday the 30th, so on their channel. So, or I think it'll be another one of these steamer load sessions. Anyway, good night to all 16 of you. I wish you all the best. I hope that you have a great upcoming day. Tomorrow will be Friday night. I'm thinking maybe of sneaking upstairs to the Marriott and get myself a drink upstairs by overlooking the city. Wouldn't that be fun? And do this from the rooftop bar. Social distancing, of course, always is an important thing. Little glimpse of where I am right now. That's the Irvine Spectrum right behind me. I'm here at the downstairs outdoor lobby of the company BlackBerry, and also the subsidiary company Silence. I live just a couple blocks away, so I walked over here. Well, let's look at comments, and then I'll sign off. Wow, it actually tells me if there's more. Good night, and so we see Captain Canada, hi. I haven't seen you for a couple of nights. Howdy. TM says, have a good night. And T leaves, good night. Ron, morning, Kurt. Hey, good morning to you, Ron. How's the day shaping up there in Shizuoka? I hope you're off to good. It's Friday morning for you, right, Ron? Weekend ahead. Boy, your daughter is just growing into such a fine young woman, Ron. I've seen some of the photos fly by once in a while. You must be so proud. And then we've got a couple more comments. Good night, Kurt. Miss your Abandoned Japan videos. Keep up the great work. Thank you. I appreciate that. I miss making those videos. If all blessing, that will be nice. What is your drink of choice? For me, lately, it's all about the margaritas. I've been making slutty margaritas every night at home. It's become a hobby. There's Mindy. Hey, Mindy. A nice heart from Mindy. It's good to see you, Mindy. I hope everything's doing well. I was thinking today about how I mentioned last time I saw you that it's like having family. I miss seeing you, and I miss those days. You know what I'm referring to back in the day, right? Reese, hello, Kurt. Hello, chat. Hello, Reese. Ron, my daughter. Sorry, Kurt, not too fast. Oh, I'm thinking of Rob. You're Ron in Israel. Ron, what time is it? Let's see, is it like 8:20 in Israel? I'm confusing you with my friend Rob, who's in Shizuoka. Ron, no, you're far too young to have a daughter. Ron, I've got to ask you, what have you got intended for yourself today in the Holy Land? What is 8 a.m. on a Friday? Is it Friday? Is it Friday in the Holy Land? Or is it? It is, right? What does 8 a.m. in Israel look like for a young man like you? I just can't imagine. Oh my gosh, I'd be just all over the place, checking out ruins and all these things. Ron, I've been watching a lot of, I don't watch a lot of anything, but I have been watching Israeli dramas. I watched Shitzel. I watched the whole thing, the whole series and I also watched, what was it about? It was another show about a young Jewish woman from America who wound up in Berlin seeking after her mother. TM, I've watched you sporadically for years now. Nice to see things are still well. Thank you, TM. They're well, but they're not. Things are. I'm beginning the process of dying. That's not dramatic enough, right? But I mean, really, the body is starting to do its thing and wear itself and shut itself down. And before very, very long, I mean, I'll be a disintegrated corpse, as will all of us, right? So didn't the topic just get dark there all of a sudden? But you guys all know that I like talking about death, right? Mainly because I like to remember death, because remembering death causes me to kind of the veil across my eye that kind of takes things for granted just drops suddenly every time I mention death, every time I remind myself that within 20 summers I'll be dead. it's like this gloss just falls away and the world becomes crystal clear. And I cherish every moment like never before. So maybe that's just my own peculiar thing. Well, all that out of that one comment, Ron. But yesterday was great. It is Friday. It is Friday morning, 7:20. I was close, Ron. I'm almost narrowed it in. I can't see the exact time. Ron, what are you going to do today? It says there is a ruin next to. Remember, Ron. Everybody, Ron is my friend from a long time. Ron's been with me forever, with since Japan days, and he's in Israel. And I know that Ron doesn't mind me talking about him, so that's cool. There's a ruin next to my house, which is an abandoned military base from the old wars, and trying to find my way in, but that will take a while to find a way in. Give me a break. That is it. When you're talking about old wars and you're talking about Israel, what are we talking about? Are we talking about, you know, David warring after the Philistines? Or what constitutes an old war in Israel, Ron? Yeah, I'm half your age, but I feel I'm part of the same process. Well, I hope you're not falling apart as quick as I am, because it's going fast now. But you are indeed, and you will be. And then someone sent me an email. Whoops! Someone's ordering a copy of my book. It's Monari on YouTube ordering a copy of your book on Amazon. Oh, whoops! Oh my gosh! What did I just do? Hold on. I just think I broke it. Thank you, Monari. You're actually ordering one on Amazon. Thank you. And that wasn't my intent to throw people off the trail of getting a free copy. I'm happy to send people a free copy. It was the comment about making money. But if you order it on Amazon, I do appreciate that. And by the way, the proceeds, when people order on Amazon, I use that money, what I do get, to send people free copies of the book. Not that my book is so important as to send a free copy, right? My book's not going to change anybody's world necessarily, but it might mean somebody to someone like me. When I was young, if I thought I was all alone with my empty vision of the world, and I would have been neat to know that there are others out there that share that perspective and don't digress into depression, or necessarily into depression or giving up on life just because they believe that there is no God, and that there's no oversight, that the universe doesn't give a damn about us, that we're really on our own, and that death is permanent, eternal, we'll never see anyone after we're gone, and that's all over with. I mean, it's hard to believe that you could still carry on in a sober, sane, or more or less happy way, but you can. And I wrote a book to try to describe how that process can work. TM, halfway there. Haha. Ron, I live in a very nature-ish place. It is a beautiful morning. Wow. Ron, someday I want to come see you. Chico says, hi, Kurt. Greetings from South Texas. Awesome sauce. I love Texas. I once spent some time in a jail in Texas, but that's for another video. I've been watching you since the Japan videos. No, I didn't do anything too terrible. I just speeding. Since the Japan videos. Thanks for being a constant source of positivity for me. You're very welcome. Mindy says, LOL, you're fun to watch. Thank you, Mindy. You're fun to hang out with. I love your optimism, by the way. Ron, no, not that old, haha, 1960s, 70s, that period of time. Oh, so the Israeli wars, what would that be, the 7 Years' War? Was that in the 60s? 7 Years' War, 7 Days' War? What was it? That period of time was very tough in Israel. From the Bible time is mostly in Jerusalem. Okay, all right. So are you talking about the war where Israel kind of took over most of the Sinai Peninsula for a while from Egypt? Is that the war? And listen to. Well, thank you, Mindy. TM, what were you driving when you were speeding? Haha. I was driving a rental car. I was in, what the heck was it? It was in Western Texas. I was there on business. I was in Western Texas, and I can't remember the name of the town, but of course they had great barbecue. And it was a Sunday, and I had the day off, and I went exploring Texas. And as you know, in Western Texas, it's just a lot of flat open spaces. And I was driving like 100. I was 32, something like that. I was driving 100 miles an hour in a little Ford Fiesta rental or something like that. And fortunately, I was only doing about 75 when I came over the rise. and there was the sheriff of a one town, little one town, one cop town, came up over the rise the other way, swung around, turned his lights on, pulled me over. Son, what do you think you're doing? Well, anyway, he escorted me into the little town. He threw me into jail, where because he had to go. It was still early in the morning. It was not early, but it was like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. No one was there. It was like something like Mayberry. He literally threw me in jail, locked the door. He said he's got to go. Get this, I kid you not. He said, son, he kept calling me son, I got to leave you in the jail cell. I've got to go wake up the judge. So he disappeared. He left me all alone in the jail cell in this small little building. I think he was the only cop in town. He came back 30 minutes later with a little old lady who was the judge. I swear to gosh, it's like Smokey and the Bandit, right? It's like right out of that. She sat me down and gave me the most grandmotherly lecture about Californians coming out there to Texas thinking that they can just drive at a damn speed that they want and all this stuff. And she levied a fine of something like $125 on me that I had to pay on the spot. Now, I didn't have the money, so I got on the phone. This is pre-internet days. I got on the phone and I called my wife back in California, Yumiko, and she wired me the money, and I got out. They released me. That's my story of getting arrested and thrown in jail in West Texas. Gosh, I can't remember that name of that place. The 6 Days War, Ron. That's right, the 6 Days War. But you guys held on to the Sinai for a long time, right? Didn't you? I mean, it was long enough that Israeli archaeologists were dispatched to the Sinai to find evidence of the Exodus, of which they found absolutely none, right? So it's interesting to imagine, was it 6 million people, escaping from Egypt, wandering the desert for 40 years and leaving absolutely no trace. Yeah, Ron says, yeah. Fuensalida says, do you believe in religion? Well, I believe in religion. I can hardly doubt that religion exists. Maybe what you mean is, do I believe in God? And I do not. And that goes for all the gods I've ever encountered in Japan or elsewhere. Now, maybe one day someone will come up with a God proposition that I will believe. It's quite another thing to agree to worship said entity. But so far, every God that I've ever encountered, and I take this subject very seriously. I really spend a lot of time reading, studying, and trying to learn, but haven't found any gods that I believe in yet. I certainly believe in religion. Grand Sumo International. The keys were hanging on a wall just outside the jail cell. If only you'd known. If only I'd known. I swear to gosh, every time I go to Disneyland and see that jail cell at the Pirates of the Caribbean and the three guys are in there with the dog with the keys. Ron, once COVID is over, I'm getting a direct flight to America. It's been delayed for way too long. Ron, you come see me, okay? You come see me, okay? It's very important. You and I have to talk. I appreciate you, Ron. I appreciate all of you, but Ron and I have had a good correspondence for a long time. I feel like you're kind of like you're my adopted Israeli son. Is that a thing? TM, I only ask because Japanese cars are an interest of mine. Old Ford Fiestas are cool, though. I like your story, though. Okay, thank you. Yeah, well, if you like old Japanese cars, then get yourself over to Japan. They're everywhere, especially out on the countryside. There's that one video I made of what was it? What was that car called? Skyline, Nissan Skyline. I don't know if any of you have seen that video. I was wandering through a village in Japan, and I came across a dilapidated car. Well, it wasn't too dilapidated. It was sitting there, and the inside was chock full of junk. I didn't know what a Skyline was, and it turns out that Nissan Skylines are a thing, and that the car community went nuts to see an abandoned Skyline in the mountains of Japan. So, and with that, I'm going to sign off in earnest. So thank you all for joining me, all 21 of you. I wish you all the best. Tomorrow night, maybe I'll be broadcasting from the rooftop bar of the Marriott here in Irvine, if they'll let me up there, and maybe even Emily or Yumiko might join me. Yumiko probably not so much, but Emily seems very keen to join me in these videos. She keeps telling me to tell you guys, if you want to Ask her questions. I'll put my email back up. There it is, scrolling across the bottom. Send me an email at dinnerbytheriver@gmail.com. It's scrolling across the bottom there. And Emily will do a live with me. Ask me questions for Emily, and Emily will answer your questions. She's no problem at all. She's happy to join me. She told me all along it was her discomfort with English, but now she seems to be over that. Okay, without a doubt. You got it, Ron. You and I are going diving, Ron. I remember that. TM, you remember that video, the abandoned skyline? Wow. Enjoy your night, TM says. Take care, Kurt. Ron says, winged thingy from YouTube. Good night. Good night, everybody. Be safe, but not too safe. Talk to you again soon.